Thank you. Before we go to a break, I've just taken you through the three parts that make a good essay. And the last one was the part of conclusion. And right now here I'm going to give you a sample of conclusions. Yes. Just going to give you samples of conclusions. Samples of conclusions. And samples of conclusions on what? If the question is about effects. If it is about effects, I already told you, the best is to comment effects were negative or positive. That is on effects. If the question is asked, what were the effects of the Bantu migration on the people of East Africa? The effects were negative and positive or negative. And I also told you can also say social, political, and economic. If at all it is on effects. But what about if it is on causes? And one is wondering, how can a conclusion be on causes? Because people are used to causes being on part what? On part A. But it can also be on part B. For example, part A might say, who were the Nguni? Then part B, what were the causes of the Nguni migration? Can't you see? Now that one requires a conclusion. When you are confronted with this, on the causes, you are going to say long term, and short term. In conclusion, the causes of the Nguni migrations were long term and short term. Don't say we are long term and short term causes. No, they were long term and short term. Full stop. And once again, like I told you, don't say long term and short term as seen above, or long term and short term in nature. So avoid that kind of ambiguity. The conclusion becomes ambiguous. Then another form can also be causes were political, social, and economic. Yes. The same applies to the effects. The causes were political, social, and economic. In the conclusion, what can be another sample? We can also look at conclusions on origins. Though this is not a common, these are not common questions. Like you cannot find origins on part B. Usually origins are on part A. Trace the origins of the Bantu, trace the origins of the Bachwezi. Usually they are on part A, but it can also happen that the origins are being asked on part B, and then you will be required to do what? To conclude. So the same thing applies here. If it is, for example, I'm sorry to use, let me now change. People say, this man wants the Nguni. No. For example, the Chwezi, they also ask part A. Who were the Bachwezi? So you have to, most likely, they want 10 marks. Then after that, what were the origin? Of course, they ask the origins of the what? Of the Chwezi. And now, on part B is where you are you are supposed to give the what? The conclusion. And then, what is the sample of this? The sample is little is known. Little is known about the origins. You get the point? About the origins. That is a sample of the conclusion on what? On any equation. You say, if it is about origins, say, little is known about the origins. What's another simple? I mean another sample. Origins not clear to historians. Origin is not clear. For example, if it is the Bachues, the origin is not clear in conclusions. The origins of the Bachues were not clear to historians, but they are said to have come from the Ethiopian islands. Full stop. That's a good conclusion. What about conclusions on Hosi? Conclusions on what? On Hosi. Not causes, but cause. The cause. If the question B is asking you to give a conclusion on the cause, maybe the cause of the Nandi resistance, or the cause of the Mufekane. So, what is the good sample of conclusion here? The best is movement was slow and gradual, because for example, if it is a migration, you say the movement of the Bantu or the Ngwen was slow and gradual. That's how you are going to state. If it is on what? On migrations. But if it is on a rebellion, you can also change that the rebellion started slowly and gradually and later became violent. For example, if it is the Mau Mau, of course we know that the Mau Mau rebellion began as a silent what? A silent uprising, an underground what? So we are going to say it began as an underground movement, but slowly and gradually progressed and later became what? Violent. That is by 1952. That's when they became violent, having started immediately after World War II. By, of course, the veterans of the war, you know, the likes of Jomo Kenyatta, the likes of the Dan Kimathi, General China, the man who fought like a Chinese. So you can see how to state the conclusion on maybe rebellions, maybe migrations, depending on which question has been said. And you don't forget, after this, slow and gradual, after some time. Then we have to look at the conclusions on wars. Yes, conclusions on wars. We have seen conclusions on effects, conclusions on causes. We have seen conclusions on origins. We have seen conclusions on cause. Now we are going to look at conclusions on wars. How do you conclude a war? How do we conclude on a war? Like, of course, we have seen so many wars, both in paper 1 and paper 4. Yes, you can quote any war. Like, I've already quoted one, Nandi. I've already quoted another, the Mau Mau. There's so many others in paper 4. The Anglo-Boer Wars, that is in the Anglo-Boer relations. The first Anglo-Boer War, the second Anglo-Boer War, and name it. So when it is a conclusion on wars, what do we say? Conclusions on wars. On wars. You say in conclusion, what do you say on wars? The war was destructive on the people, maybe of South Africa, maybe of East Africa. That's the conclusion. The Anglo-Boer War, the first Anglo-Boer War, was destructive on the people of South Africa. That is conclusion on wars, or on the people of the region. Now, what about problems? What about if it is about problems? We may also require to write a conclusion on problems. What were the problems faced by the railway builders, the Indian coolies and the rest? What were the problems faced by the Uganda railway constructors? How will the conclusion appear? It will be internal and external. Problems were internal and external. If it is to do with the problems, what were the problems made by the first settlers at the Cape? Problems internal and what? And external. That's the best. Another sample can be geographical, then political, then social, economic, and all that makes a good conclusion on the problem. Problems faced by the railway constructors were geographical, political, social, and economic. And please don't add there in nature. It is not good. So those are the conclusions we can make for any question in history and in any paper. You can pause.